Welcome back to Market Like a Mother. This is our very exciting 11th bonus episode. And as you can see, we are here in person on our team trip in Arizona, which is so exciting. And today we're going to be talking about hosting your own company brand trip and basically the return on investment on the UGC that you could get on it. So, what if that best content that you could get for your brand is sitting right in your camera roll and it's not from the, creators that you're hiring. It's not from the influencers that you're seeking out. It's not from, any creatives that you are seeking to partner with. It is from your own team. They are such a valuable, underutilized resource when it comes to creating content for your brand. So today we're going to be talking about how you could basically encourage your team to be creating UGC while you are on an internal team retreat or an internal brand trip, if you will, like we are right now. We're going to talk about what that return on investment looks like, how you could encourage it, and how you could use that content after your internal brand trip. So we're in person.
What a great intro, Lauren.
Thank you. It feels more high stakes today, so you have to bear with our nerves as we're in person. Karen and I only see each other once every 2 years.
I reach over and touch your face. Don't be weirded out.
It's real. This is a big day for us. So of course we're on our team trip right now, and I feel like a big focus going into this trip was encouraging employees to document their own kind of content and their own experiences. I would say, how did you, as like a leader of Radiant, kind of set the precedent for, setting that expectation that everyone should be kind of participating?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a hard balance, right? Because we want people to participate and take photos just like you would in like regular real life.
Right.
So you don't want it to be too forced. So I think we give good ideas. We encourage the team to do things throughout the trips.
Yep.
This time we're incentivizing a little bit. So there's a little bit of a contest going on. But I think it's, if you've built a culture that allows for your team to organically want to engage, obviously that's going to be a bit easier and better than if, everybody hates each other and you're not excited.
Right. Company culture first.
But we could kick that back to you as one of the team members. I'm curious because obviously I have a different perspective and I'm like, oh yeah, all the content, right? What is your perspective on that? How do you feel when we do these trips? And an element of that is also kind of collecting content.
Yeah, I think hats off to, like you said, for company culture first, because it is easy and exciting to want to document it. Because again, I haven't seen Karen in like 2 years in person. So I'm like, this is so exciting. Like, of course I want to take pictures and videos and remember everything from the trip. But I also think having worked on the social side of Radiant and, worked on the content side, it definitely is like a bit more motivating for me as an employee because you also you want your social media to perform well. Even I feel like our employees who aren't directly involved in social, like you just want what's best for the brand and the business. So I think that's kind of a nice motivator for everyone, and it makes it feel, I don't know, like we're all in this together in a way, if you will.
Yeah, it's like 3 thoughts from what you just said. First, I feel like we should link up our photo gallery to this episode for resources. Second is I think this is also an opportunity to like empower all different members of your team, because some people are going to be more naturally inclined to do this stuff already.
Yes.
And then maybe there's like the older demographic that's not as into it, doesn't have as much of an interest. So I think it's a unique opportunity to maybe get some champions involved that would like help lead that. And then I do think we obviously have a bit of an advantage because we are a creative team and we have lots of fun ideas, and that makes it easier. But I think that's something that we want to talk about today. And I'm curious too, because I know I just got a little bit of a sneak peek of that process of like, hey, what kind of content should we be collecting? And I know you, Tess, and Taylor worked hard together to come up with some ideas, but do you have kind of categories that you would recommend people consider when they're collecting content, and what does that look like?
I think like a big thing to determine is like what the difference is between like internal UGC and what you would like, work with an agency for, or partner with, if you were hiring someone to create content for your agency. Because I feel like the biggest advantage is like we know us the best, like an outside external source is only going to know, service level, but we know our team dynamics, so that was really kind of easy for us to start the process of planning those like categories, because it's like, okay, these people really like being on camera and like being involved, these people, maybe their skills lie elsewhere behind the camera. Isaiah behind the camera today. So I feel like that was kind of the start, was like recognizing where people's skills lied, because it's, everyone together, has their own kind of unique set that they could bring to the content creation process. So that was helpful first, kind of once we identified where people would be.
Mm-hmm.
It was a matter of, I think, dreaming big, but also being practical was such a big thing because, of course, Taylor, and I sat down and we're like, we want 100 pieces of content a day.
Right.
We're going to make 90 TikToks and like 100 Instagram reels.
Yes.
And like, we're not going to have to make content for the rest of the year because like our calendar is going to be set. So I think managing expectations was big too, of like, you know, here's our can't miss content, you know, the stuff that's easily reusable, stuff that could be almost like B-roll that could have different text put over it. So stuff that feels like a bit evergreen, you know, which is nice. But I mean, I do say aim high too. Of course, there's, you know, shoot big.
Yeah, well, and I love that too. And like overlaying that, like we've talked about with like your goals with the content as well and the different channels you can use it for. So when you're talking about ROI, you know, if we're creating a piece of content that we can use on social, but we could also potentially use it for a paid ad campaign, we could use it in an email, we could use it on a blog post. Like that's where you can really stretch the dollar and make the most of the content you're collecting. So kind of layering that into the brainstorming too. But I love the personality piece, and I would encourage companies that are doing this to maybe even do like a fun personality profile where they could kind of collect some of that information up front. Like you said, we obviously know all of the members on our team. We're a small team, but if you're a bigger team and you're all getting together, maybe first time, or there's 100 of you, then you may not know that to that level, like those details about everyone. You could do like a little profile intake that would help with that personality.
I can't agree more, because I was thinking about it and I'm like, we are so lucky to have a small team. Like I love our small team, but I'm like, you definitely, if you're coming from a larger company, like you could have a champion on your team that you don't even know. You know what I mean? Like in having kind of a side hustle in social media is so common these days. So like you genuinely might have someone who does it, you know, on their own time, you know, behind the scenes that you don't even know about. So even like maybe sending out some type of survey beforehand, if you're doing, you know, an internal retreat like we are, to kind of gauge people's like interest level, how comfortable they are. A thing I wanted to talk about too is like the comfortableness, the comfortability.
Is that a word?
Yeah.
Is that a word?
I just made it up today. I'm going to put the definition on screen.
Yeah, hold your hand up for a second.
But I think too, it's like definitely worth noting, because an internal retreat could be high stress, you know, like you're getting together in person. Like for me, you know, Tess and I were flying across the country. So I'm like, I think too, sending out some type of survey beforehand could easily gauge to kind of what people's comfort levels are with it. Cause you never want to, you know, be like, hey, you're going to do this dancing trend TikTok to someone who's like, that's their worst fear.
Isaiah.
And Natalie. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, hey, by the way, like learn this dance by 5 o'clock tonight for, you know, the content session. So I think that, you know, definitely surveying your team is a great way to, again, see kind of where people's skill lie. But also, again, you want to make sure that people are comfortable being a part of the UGC process.
Yeah, I love the like kind of hidden gem stars on your team too, because that is something, especially with like the younger population generations. I feel like more and more individuals are super comfortable on camera, and a lot of them may have like big followings and are used to producing content and producing in a way that's like effective too. So it's not just like, oh yeah, I love being on camera, I'll do it. It's like, I love being on camera, I'll do it, and like I know what's gonna get the most for your content, and create it in a certain way, and or again like follow specific trends that are like really running high right now. So
I will, the one thing I'll say about trends, which was interesting because Taylor and Tess and I talked about this a lot on our call, was that trends could be so like, you want to follow them so bad and you want to get involved because they're funny and they're the moment. But if you are like us, you know, our content is delayed because we have, you know, we have an internal process of editing it. Most people do. So I'm like, it can be so tempting to just like load up your content schedule on the trip with like, I found all these like funny trends that I want to do, but we kind of even tried to steer away from that, you know, a few here and there, but I feel like the theme that we would encourage people to do would be like that evergreen content theme. Because again, it's so tempting because there's such funny ones and you could see them and be like, oh, our team would be so good at that. But unfortunately, sometimes by the time you get them out, you know, the moment has passed and you got to make, you know, the best use of your time.
Well, and I know we had a whole episode kind of on chasing trends too. And I think there's like value in obviously the trend itself if you're able to capitalize on that and get in it when it's live and it's really driving results. But I also feel like there's like opportunity where you're like, I feel like this would be something really fun to do as a team. Like we can do it because it's like aligned with our culture, or it would just be a fun one to shoot. So like there's Definitely some things like you're saying too, to think about like, oh, what can we post, like maybe even like live while we're there, or that we know we can get out more quickly, versus the stuff like you're saying that evergreen that might be more delayed, that is going to go into the calendar, a couple months down the road potentially.
Right. Now, from your perspective, so of course, like you are kind of our final step of Radiant Social, like you're the overseer and the final check mark usually when it comes to stuff going out. What is your thought process on like after a team retreat, like how much of your content should be that? Because it's like you almost don't want to overwhelm people. You want to stretch it out, but
yeah, I mean,
you're excited.
We're so cool. I mean, I was just told today that I'm a nerd, but
I'm like, oh God, the tea coming out.
I feel like, I don't know. It's so hard to say, right? Because if you could get a good mix of different types of content on the retreat, and it's all like engaging and fun, and it shows a behind the scenes look at your team and your culture, I feel like you could post a lot of content. But I do think you kind of want to sprinkle it in still. So you want to still balance it with stuff that you are typically posting in your feed. I mean, obviously with our clients and ourselves, we're typically planning a little ways out, like whether that's for the month or even the quarter, with space for, for more real time posting.
Right.
So I think that if it's evergreen, you could post it for as long as you have it. I feel like you could spread that out and use that for months and months to come. But yeah, bog that feed down with fun culture content.
That's what I'm doing. The more the better. Yeah. I'm like, that's what I say. So anyways, this is us telling you, prepare to see so many pictures and videos from this week.
Just Lauren and I in selfies.
Yeah, like just we have selfies every day. Tune in. Something I wanted to talk about too is kind of like framing it as your own brand trip, because of course we've talked about this before. We've touched on this in Radiant Social content as well, but brand trips are having a big moment, and it's typically a brand inviting creators, so pre-existing creators. And I feel like what we're trying to do here this week that we are encouraging people to replicate is basically creating that same experience but for your internal team. So I think that's a good way to kind of frame it when you're thinking about your content is, if my brand was to hire 10 influencers right now, like what would I want to see from them? What are the expectations, and how could I put them in situations that they're going to create that content again? You don't want people flying across the country to sit in a boardroom for 8 hours a day. So I think it's good to think about that too, in a way. Yeah,
like the balance of activities on. I mean, we call ours a retreat, and some might have a conference or something. So there might be more of a balance there too, where I feel like we've kind of loaded this short retreat up with some really fun activities that are definitely like content worthy. But if you are more like you're doing workshops all day, or it's very heavy, like serious stuff the whole time, then it is going to be a little bit more challenging to get like the fun personality content potentially. But you could still look at different categories of content, even if that's the case.
Right.
I did want you to expand a little bit for our audience on like what are brand trips out of the internal context, but more for like creators. I believe you said you've done a few recently, right?
I have a few coming up too. So,
okay, so
by the time this is out.
Share a little bit of whatever you're able to share. Of like what that looks like from the creator influencer side too, and how you kind of see that overlapping with what we're talking about now.
So I feel like essentially a brand trip is like a paid vacation by the brand with their product or their service at the center of it. So it all will always come back to, setting the influencer or creator up for the easiest way to market their products. They're going to, have goodies waiting for you in your room with the logo. They're going to, the logo is going to be everywhere you could see it. And it's basically creators being hosted on an experience, that is sponsored by the brand. At the end of the day, it's a big ad, and it's, a way to create UGC. They want the creators posting as well. But I think a lot of principles from that could be taken and a little less glamorous and put into an internal trip, because I'm like, if you are a health and wellness brand who is creating a product, when you are having your company come in for a conference, for a retreat, for, whatever you'd like to call your kind of internal trip, have a couple products waiting for them upon check-in that, that's going to encourage them to, post a picture of, hey, I'm at this conference and, there was a goodie bag waiting for me on my bed. And, kind of bringing those same elements of the kind of celebrity influencer brand trips that we're seeing smaller scale in, I think is just like, it's a way to encourage people to get involved and post it. And you're also kind of replicating these. It's fun and exciting. And it's, it's the everyday person doesn't always get to experience the brand trip. So
I love that. And I think you're making me realize too that I feel like a lot of companies may not like value or appreciate their employees in the way that they always could be. And I think being a marketing agency working with clients that are looking for resources like potentially creators, influencers to promote their brand, I think they're quick to turn to those external resources, pay a hefty price tag to get the content that may or may not necessarily do something for them.
Right.
When they have access to a whole bunch of people, or small team, even like a handful of people, a whole bunch of people that could be doing this for them in exchange for those perks and that fun stuff too. So like we have a couple of clients that are like a hot yoga studio that's like, oh, your next all team meeting, like everyone should do one of the classes. Like you should experience it like you would, or kind of go through the same process you would if you were hiring and paying for an influencer to come do it too, and giving all of that like added bonus to them.
See, I'm like, I don't know why everyone does it. You know what I mean? Because it's like your employees are almost your first brand advocates in a way, because one, they're employed to do so, but also, if you create a work environment that they want to share and post about, like that's your first, influencer right there. And I think something too is that like my generation and Gen Z specifically, everyone's got some type of following, whether it's 1,000, 5,000 followers, it's kind of the norm for these younger generations. So I'm like, if you think of your team and you're assuming, you have a team of 100 and each one of them has a couple thousand followers, I'm like, the reach is there. It's just, instead of it being one individual with 1 million followers, you could probably get a similar reach spread out among your whole team. So definitely worth thinking about it in that aspect too.
Yeah, I love that. And that does kind of bring up an important distinction too, is like you have the content you're creating, that you're kind of creating this repository. We have a shared album. We do that with our clients too. It's easy for people to upload what they're, the content they're collecting as things. But then you also have like the reposting, sharing to their own profiles. So how would you recommend businesses like encourage or incorporate that, in addition to just take photos, share your experience with us so we can use that internally and repost it to our own feed, but share it to your story too, tag the company. Like how would you recommend they go about that process?
I feel like this is where we shout out Tess, because Tess is like the incentivizing queen. Tess has always really fun initiatives here, and I feel like it's a great way. Even on our internal trip that we're on right now, we have bingo cards for the week, and you could check off, when you've taken a certain picture or video. I think the prize is a Starbucks gift card. So something as, small as that in the terms of like what it costs to encourage your teammates, it makes it fun. It makes it interactive. It does incentivize. I also think that when you create a culture that people want to share, so again, those little perks of, a goodie bag or a treat, or getting to actually attend the hot yoga class for, the company that you're working for. I feel like we share our day-to-day moments on social anyways. So when you're creating these, fun little like moments of joy, almost, it's that alone is such, a way to encourage people to post. Cause like, I know if I'm, coming to a trip or something and there's something waiting for me or something aesthetically pleasing, a welcome sign, like I'm automatically going to want to take a picture of it. So
we're kind of hardwired that way now.
Yeah. And like have something aesthetic going. But again, just, creating those moments of joy, and people, a big majority of people kind of share their daily life now.
That's so true.
Whether they're influencers or not. So if you could again, make, something that was cute and made them smile, that's, it's pretty likely that they'll advocate for your brand just, kind of on their own.
Yeah.
So I think that is a good way to kind of think about UGC as a whole when you're thinking about these trips, is try to think of it less as like this business deliverable and almost think of it as like a culture first type of situation.
Yeah. And I love that. I think that's the most important part and the most important takeaway. And like in the end, again, I think there's value outside of the generated content. Like I feel like there's not all companies get together like this in person and celebrate their team. We have a couple of clients that do it, and I think their whole team just really appreciates being appreciated. And so in the end, even if you just collect a couple of pieces of content, I feel like the experience itself and showing that it's important to your brand and your company to celebrate your employees and to do fun things like this is really like the best ROI.
I completely agree. And I think too that as we're kind of wrapping up here, I'd love to give people, to really drive home kind of what we were talking about is this high ROI that you get from doing this, is maybe some creative ways to use the content they might not have thought of. So not to put you on the spot, but I know we talked a lot about social today here too, but an example I wanted to bring up is actually on our last team retreat. Well, not the last, but the last one that I attended. I know we did like a team photo shoot. You did that in previous ones. So even getting content for the website. So our header image on the website was a picture from the retreat. I don't know if there's any other you could think of, but I'm like, it goes beyond social. I definitely want to add that in there.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think, all of your digital channels, right? So if it's websites, if it's blog content you're creating, if it's emails that you're sending, I think it's always really nice to have like real images from like team type of activities versus stock images, or even like the more posed kind of like official commercial photo shoots.
Yeah.
I feel like the content that we're collecting on just so real and authentic. And that's what drives people to business, right? That's what creates connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I feel like if we're using that on emails, if we're using that on website, if we're using social, that it's hard not to see that content and be like, oh, they're real people. They look fun, or they look nice, or whatever. Like, I want to learn a little bit more. Like, it's just going to be intriguing enough to maybe take that next step of engagement, maybe look at the discovery page, book a call, whatever, like kind of move them through that process is really just first and foremost showing them that you're human, and doing that on all the channels you have available. And then you can use it in print publications if you do any print ads, or you could use it in paid campaigns if you're running social or search campaigns online. I mean, I feel like there's a whole bunch of different that if you're nominated for awards or prizes, like you can use featured, from types of things.
See, I had one and you had like 15. I'm like, wow.
I'm like,
that was so good. So basically what we're saying is prepare to see us everywhere. You're going to see this everywhere.
And put them in your office.
You can make t-shirts of them, and then at your next retreat, wear you at your last retreat on the t-shirt.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
The possibilities are really
new
endless,
ideas.
is what we're saying. I feel like that's a perfect place to end it. We just did probably information overload at the end there. People are writing down. They're like, oh my God, I just need so much content for the next month. But I feel like I have this memorized now because I've said it so many times as we're wrapping up season 2. You could check out our website to learn about how we help brands grow with intention, and a little bit more about our culture of wellness too, that we will be really focusing on this week. You could stream the podcast on Apple and Spotify. I'm like, let me remember where we are here. And then we have video versions on YouTube. And I really recommend you go check out this one on YouTube because, again, we are together and we're not little Zoom screens anymore. So super exciting. And we will see you in season 3 coming up soon. And until next time, stay radiant.